Assalamu alaikum everyone. Good afternoon. Well, actually, good evening. How's everyone doing? Good, cold, foggy. I have just gotten off the motorway and I barely made it here in time, but I'm very, very excited to be here and thank you so much for having me. So, the most frequently asked question I've gotten over the past few years is, you're still here? And by the way, I'm seeing a bunch of puzzled looks in the audience. For those of you who may not know, about 4 years ago, I gave up a career, a private sector career in technology abroad, and moved back to work for the government for an initiative called Digital Pakistan. And I did that because I deeply believed, and I still do, with all my heart, that the sector that I had been trained in, technology, actually had the ability to really take this nation and my fellow citizens into the future. And the reality is, when people asked me that question, in fact, pretty much anyone who knew me said, isko to midlife crisis ho gaya. That's why she's trying to, go and do something in the public sector. And of course, everyone assumed, that was, by the way, a very short stint. It lasted about 6 months. When that ended, pretty much everyone assumed that she's going to go back to her old life. Maybe even her old job at Google. No one thought, कि यार ये पाकिस्तान में रह के काम करेगी. And why? Why would anyone stay here, right? That's the assumption that everyone goes forward with. And so, not only am I still here 4 years later, I actually believe in that mission even more so today. And many of you may ask why. Why would you say that? Right? Especially given the circumstances, not just here, but like everywhere around the world. So, any guesses as to how many people there are online today? Any guesses? 5 billion, okay, I got the first answer and you got it right. Now the thing that's amazing is still literally 5 years ago, this number was 3 billion. And in another few years, this number will be 7 billion. Right? Now just think about that for a second. That is the number of people that are people are coming online because of, why are they coming online? Because the cost of this device that most of us can't live without has gone further down. So the adoption of smartphones is just through the roof. Mobile networks and the coverage of mobile networks are actually getting better and better all over the world. There's wide-scale urbanization, right? And the internet is getting more and more useful for people. So people have a reason to come online. So what's amazing is this is almost an unstoppable phenomena. And what's also really important and actually very exciting for us, all of us here, is where do you think most of these billions of people are coming online from? They're coming online from countries like ours. In fact, the last billion people that have been added to the internet have been added from Asia. They're also getting added, they're also coming online from places like Latin America, from the Middle East, from Africa. Right? And what's happening is there is this diversity in the internet that is becoming better and better and greater because all of these people are coming online. Now, if you stop and think about that for a second, people today who come online through this little guy here, by the way, majority of these new users are coming online through devices like these. Not through laptops, not through PCs, which, by the way, my generation did. Now, what's amazing is they have more computing power in their hands today than NASA did when they put a man on the moon in 1969. Just stop and think about that for a second. Right? You and I, with this device here, have more computing power than NASA did when they actually put a man on the moon. Right? We have more access to knowledge than pretty much the largest library in the world. And you know what's amazing? Again, and I want you really to think about the power of that. A cattle herder in rural Punjab today has more access to knowledge and more computing power in her hands than the most powerful organizations had just 50 years ago. Right? That is literally just one generation before us. And the other thing that's amazing? Any guesses for the average age of the people that are going to come online? Any guesses? Okay, close. 5 to na bole yaar. 5. I mean, that's a bit depressing if 5-year-olds are coming online. But no, the average age is actually 25. Right? Now, here's the other thing that's beautiful about it is that this entire generation is born into this access to knowledge, this access to information, that by the way, their previous generation, my generation was not born into this access. Right? Many of you here, I can see, are like you don't know your life without this, but I'm sure many of you here absolutely remember your life without that access. And guess what happens when you're born with that access? You dream bigger. You set more audacious goals. You stop waiting for other people to solve your problems. You stop waiting for your country's leaders to solve problems and to fix what's broken. You start to look for solutions to solve your own problems. And that happens because this access to information has opened your mind in a way that was just previously unimaginable. And that, my friends, is the democratizing power of technology. Alia is a 9-year-old. She's from Skardu. And she's always been amazing at numbers. And her mother, Samina, has known that about her. But she very quickly realized, her mother, that her child was not going to have her hunger for learning be fulfilled at the local school that she was enrolled at. So you know what her mother did? Her mother saved a portion of her salary for several months so that she could buy this tablet with an internet connection for Alia. And you know why she did that? She did that because she had decided, first of all, she had seen and gotten exposed to other children at her employer's house learning from these devices. And she decided that my daughter is not going to be left behind. And she said, I'm going to do something about that. So she didn't care whether there were enough qualified teachers at her daughter's school. Right? She did something about it. And she did something about it because she was able to. Because technology gave her the ability to bridge that gap, which till literally just a few decades ago was just not possible to do. And switching topics, this is a topic that the world is still reeling from, right? COVID-19. Many of you may not know this in the audience, but Pakistan's data-driven response to COVID was actually applauded and appreciated all over the world. And in fact, we do a terrible job of talking about this. And we need to learn to market the things we do well. And in fact, even leader like Bill Gates, actually when he was in Pakistan, this was a solo visit to Pakistan, went and saw what was happening and how Pakistan was responding to it, and really applauded Pakistan's effort and how they were using technology in the fight against COVID-19. And what's really important to know here is, what did Pakistan do differently, or what did Pakistan do right? They had an absolute pulse on their health data in real time. Now I want to pause here for a second. What does that mean? Pulse on health data in real time. Tests happening, positive, where they're positive from. Where they're positive from allows you to detect what? Where there are pools of disease coming. And guess what you need to do then? You need to lock those areas down. A country like ours couldn't afford a blunt lockdown. But again, because you had access to that real-time data, you could make smart decisions with it. Now, again, what's amazing about it is how literally everyone in the country came together at that time. And it was a gigantic effort. The government, federal, provincial, the armed service, literally the private sector, the best minds in the private sector, all came together to work towards what was a gigantic task. And they actually did what was unachievable. I mean, you looked at the numbers from your neighboring countries, you looked at the numbers from countries that had far more resources than we did. And actually, we ended up with far less damage to our economy, to our lives, to our citizens' lives, than several other countries did. Now, I'm actually very proud to have served during that time. And the reason I'm proud is it really proved to me that nations can achieve the unthinkable when they have the right intent, they have the right set of empowered people, and they have the right tools. Really, anything is possible. Let's talk about agriculture for a second. Now, agriculture is the backbone of Pakistan's economy. It's almost 25% of our GDP. And farmers work incredibly hard every single day to feed all of us. They produce the food that feeds all of us. Yet we fail them every single year because their share of earnings from the agri value chain has continued to go down over the past several years. And what that does to them is it basically makes them go further into a cycle of debt. Now imagine and envision how the smart use of relevant data used in the agri space could change the equation for farmers. Last year, we started a platform called Kisan. And what Kisan does is it utilizes data in a way to help farmers and assist them with their livestock management and their farming practices to really help make a difference in their everyday lives. And the way they do that is that they take on-ground data, that real data that the farmers provide us, and they convert it into actionable insights for farmers. With the idea, again, that ultimately, if you don't economically empower the farmer, which again, remember, we just said agriculture is 25% of the economy. You solve for the farmer, you solve for this country. And at Kisan, we imagine a future where our farmers have the democratic decision-making power to make informed decisions about their land, about their animals, because they, like everyone else, like all of us, want a life of dignity for themselves and for their families. And ladies and gentlemen, just pause and think about all of these examples that I've just talked about. Right? Whether you're Samina solving for her daughter Alia, whether you're a country like Pakistan fighting against COVID, or whether you're a business like us solving for the farmer through a platform like Kisan, what technology has enabled us to do was really unthinkable till just a few years ago. And with the advent of AI, I mean, boy, are we talking about unprecedented. In fact, if you look at the World Wide Web today, it is still 60% English. Right? And what AI is actually going to do is that it's going to help localize the web in the most spoken languages in the world. And English, of course, is one of the most spoken languages in the world, but so are many, many others that are not well represented in the digital form. And what will that do? That will make the internet and just the whole digital world feel far more relatable to many, many more people in the world. Now think about the situation the world is in today. Oppression at its peak, polarization at its peak. Technology, even in those difficult circumstances, provides hope. In this case, it provides hope through faith. For a man using a borrowed device to listen to the Quran in a Rohingya refugee camp. For brave young reporters willing to risk their lives to get the truth out to the world, when the most powerful special interest groups are preventing it. Technology gives a voice to even the most oppressed people. It allows for their stories to be heard. And the world is responding. That is power. And what's important is to remember that everyone, regardless of where they may be, has a right to live a life of dignity. And each of us, all of us, have a unique role to play in that, whatever that role may be. And we are incredibly fortunate to be alive today because you have this democratizing power of technology, and there are a whole range of problems to solve. Now, the choice on how what you do with it is yours and ours. The way we take 2 steps forward is actually when we stop to solve for ourselves and actually start to think about what we can do for others. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you for bearing with me, by the way. I want to leave you with one message as I wrap up. We are all ambassadors. You are all ambassadors of humanity. And you are armed with the democratizing power of technology. Wield it for the greater good so that you can shape a world where dignity is not just a dream, it is a reality. Thank you.